Hey there, welcome to day 152 of our BU 365-day challenge to do one thing every day that improves us. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and we are starting a new area of the life framework today. Today is June 1st, so for the month of June, for this segment of the challenge, we are going to focus on the relationship area and aspects of our life, right? Remember, there's the 9 different areas and aspects that I call my life framework. People use different ways of dividing up their life, and they're different frameworks, different frames of reference for looking at and considering our life as we're creating the life that we want, not just letting life happen to us willy-nilly. We're actually choosing what we want, what our long-term goals and objectives are for our life, and we're moving toward those and making progress toward those a little bit every single day. So what about relationships? We're going to cover all kinds of things about relationships. If there's something specifically that you want to make sure I cover, please hit me up in the comments below today or tomorrow so that we can make sure that they're on this month's calendar. Otherwise, the end of the year we can add them. But if you have relationship things that you want to talk about now, let's get those out in the open. So relationship well-being, that's what this month's focus is going to be. Today our topic is, and I'm going to share and we're going to talk about the different types of relationships, just the categories. Now, like everything else on the internet, it can be divided any way that different authors decide to divide it. So there can be 4, there can be 5, there can be 6, there can be 7, there can be 8. I'm going to go with the 8 different types of relationships. And our action item today is to choose which one type of relationship has been the biggest challenge for you so far in your life, because that's the one we want to, during the course of this month, make sure we address and take little steps to improve and change. We always want to improve things. We never want them to get worse, right? To make sure that your life is moving in the direction that's really right for you. Maybe not for everybody else that you're in relationships with, but specifically right and best for you. Because when you're being your best self, when you're being the best version of yourself, that gives everyone around you permission to do the same, and it all contributes to making the world a better place. So, what are some of these different types of relationships? Of course, our family relationships, our mom, our dad, our grandmas, our grandpas, our great-grandmas, our great-grandpas, our aunts, our uncles, our cousins, our friends, our sisters, our brothers, our anybody that we're related to with respect to our family, right? So cousins and second cousins and triple and quadruple cousins. I'm from a pretty big family. There's 4 girls in our family, but my mom came from a family of 5 girls, all have families and cousins. My dad had 6 siblings, all with lots of cousins. So growing up, we were surrounded by a lot of family. So there's the family relationship. There are friendships. Friendships as defined by you. Now, then there's also acquaintances would be the third type of relationships categories that we'll use. 4th would be romantic relationships. 5th would be sexual relationships, which may or may not be romantic relationships, depending on your experience. Work relationships, anything to do with our job, our employment, our bosses, our co-workers, our peers, the people that report to us, our subordinates, whatever you call them. Work relationships, situational relationships. And situational relationships are those things that just come up based on the situation. Maybe you're involved in a committee with a volunteer committee or a church committee that you're not really part of the organization, but you're volunteering for this particular project. And during this project, you form relationships in order to get the project done. A lot of team, and sometimes teams are, school or work, but is where we most often see teams. But there's also committees and things in our communities that we might be part of for a period of time, but then we're not part of that anymore. And when we're not part of that, those relationships just kind of fall by the wayside. So maybe you're in a Bible study, or you're going to school, or you're taking courses or whatever. And during that period of time that you're all together, relationships form. And then once you move on, those relationships just kind of go away. And then finally, and this isn't on very many people's lists of relationships, but I personally think it's the most important one. And that's the relationship that we have with ourselves, right? With who we really are. And so of all these different types of relationships, family, friendship, acquaintances, romantic, sexual, work, situational, or relationship with yourself. Which of those have been the biggest challenge for you so far in your life? Share that in the comments below. Mine has been my relationship with myself. And the reason I say that, and I've come to understand that I didn't always believe that, right? I didn't always think that was true. But the older I get, the more I realize the only common denominator in all of my relationships is me. So if I'm struggling with something, guess what? I have to look internally and say, what's going on here that I've had challenges in this relationship? I would say my romantic relationships, other than the relationship with myself, my romantic relationships have been my biggest challenge. And I'm sure I'll share some of that throughout this challenge. As embarrassing as it is, we'll talk about it. So again, share the type of the category of the 8 types relationship that you've had the biggest challenge with so far in your life. And depending on where you are in your life, it may or may not be the same. A lot of us, very common, are work relationships, situational relationships, family relationships, romantic relationships, sexual relationships. Any one of these can be a challenge for us, right? So what has been, in your opinion, always the biggest challenge so far? Share in the comments below, and I will be with you tomorrow. And we're going to continue to talk about relationships and relationship well-being. Why? Because we always want things to get better throughout the entire month of June. All right, questions asked. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Have an awesome day.